Welcome to Cybersecurity Internship. This is Team Cloud 9, Section 1235.
Today's topic discusses the evolution of insider threats and the tactics that are used to mitigate the multiple types of insider threats.
To further understand the consequences of an insider threat, we have taken on the roles of IT occupations to elaborate on the change that has occurred within the last 5 years regarding saboteurs and/or espionage.
Taking on the role as an employee of a bank, we have summarized the roles of the information security officer, compliance analyst, cyber threat analyst, IT risk analyst, and the behavioral analyst in order to create a strategy for the bank employer to be protected against insider threats. Next, we will begin to describe each role's views on the evolution of the insider threat landscape.
As the information officer, I have a very generalized and easy way of identifying the threat within and mitigating issues further. I am in charge of authorization and access into our major infrastructure and operating systems. I believe, as the information officer, that the threat within would be personnel inside because they may have access to any critical information or personal information. My job would be to prevent and mitigate unauthorized access into our operating system by giving people only authorization needed to their job title. Another issue named as a threat within would be someone designing a virus and infiltrating through our security measures. A way that someone in my position could mitigate the risk would to be encoding information in preventative firewalls or virus protection systems, where risk could quickly be identified and attacked as soon as they were identified as any kind of risk to the company. These people looking into getting into our systems are looking, in my opinion, for financial or self-gain. We are a bank with a name that comes with the sheer amount of money, and we have to protect and defend against threats and risks. If we are to fail, total economic instabilities and potential destruction of our bank's reputation would be at hand. It is important that the information security officer carefully watch over his team and only give authorization where totally necessary to mitigate all threat and risk and to ensure the survival of our company. As the compliance analyst, it is my job to ensure that the company abides by the rules of the government or nonprofit agencies that regulate us. I am responsible for investigating and auditing legal rules on projects before they are able to pass. It would be easy for someone in my position to a threat within because almost everything has to go through me before it passes. It is important for a compliance analyst to check carefully for any breaches in documents because that can jeopardize the bank's reputation. Having a bank that passes contracts where they don't abide by the laws can be very dangerous and a potential risk to our bank's reputation.
So, as a cyber threat analyst, the insider threat landscape has continued to evolve over the last 5 years. Not only has it gained sophistication and complexity, but attackers have managed to stay ahead of the defenders in exploiting weaknesses in people, procedures, and technologies. There are three main kinds of cyber attacks that can be committed by an insider within an organization. When fraud is committed, the insider uses IT for the unauthorized modification or deletion of an organization's data or crucial information. An intellectual property thief uses IT to steal confidential information from an individual or a company. Examples: social security, bank account numbers. Lastly, an insider threat might sabotage, which is causing short-term or long-term direct specific harm to an organization or person. As cyber threat analyst, I plan to conduct digital forensics, source analysis, and identify all cyber threats that are held both internally and externally. My job is to target, monitor, and counter these attacks held by foreign attackers targeting our bank's information. I will be using my scientific and technical skills to solve sophisticated intellectual problems within the company. As the IT risk analyst, insider threats come in various different forms, which consist of espionage, fraud, theft, and sabotage. Overall, insider threat continues to increase year by year because of the lack of security and can potentially put our own bank at risk to all of our company's financial data. It is difficult to point out employees who have malicious intent of harming our bank. More than 50% of insiders of all cases carry out attacks with malicious intent, which results in the loss of important data, loss of business, and the loss of their reputation of clients. There is a program called UserLock, a network security manager, which manages, controls, and secures network access for all authenticated users. In a bank like ours, UserLock is perfect, which can provide real-time security to keep track of authorized users' access to important information, thus decreasing the risk of insiders exploiting or getting rid of our data assets. When a suspicious login occurs, UserLock will detect this and alert a potential inside threat in order for it to be prevented. UserLock also prevents password theft from stolen credentials, which is important for a financial service like ours. By restricting logins from unknown users and IP addresses, it will only allow access to the legitimate user and let them know that the login has been prevented. Based on research of other companies, 55% of companies indicate that they lack training, and 51% indicate that they lack budget to respond to insider threats. They put their own organization at risk through bad security habits and employees falling for phishing attacks. Some bad security habits include employees' unawareness of security policies and procedures. Bad security habits, as simple as sharing accounts or using the same password for multiple personal accounts, should be prevented. The company should enforce a strict password security policy, forcing employees and also clients to create unique passwords. As a behavioral analyst, it is imperative that I engage in activities that monitor for malicious insider threats on a psychological level. Direct observation of human behavior related to the handling and/or transfer of classified information will be an important part of the monitoring phase. Insider threats behaviors have adapted and evolved through the last 5 years, forcing us to modify security policies to keep up with the ever-changing threats to sensitive cyber information. Traditional traits of insider threats 5 years ago consist of keeping in touch with foreign contacts, having a foreign preference or loyalty, intentional mishandling of classified information, repeated involvement in security violations, intrusions into automated information systems, and/or working outside normal duty hours, in essence, system monitoring. Any employee displaying one or more of these traits needs to be monitored extra closely in order to determine if they are a valid insider threat. Giving a suspected insider threat the least amount of authorization necessary to complete their job will mitigate the risk of sabotage and/or espionage. More common traits that are exhibited by potential insider threats relevant to modern technology include serious mental health disorders, in essence, alcohol, drug abuse, spousal abuse, diagnosed mental illness, personality problems, social skills and decision-making deficits, and/or a history of rule violations. Any employee or executive displaying behavior similar to these traits will need to be monitored closely. The evolution of technology in the past 5 years calls for more human interactions in order to seek out possible insider threats by observing humans' behaviors.